Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center and I'm delighted to be joined with Alexa for her fantastic movie, Emotional Labor. Let's take a look at the clip.
Not bad.
Good. Glad you like it. I've had to do all the cooking since my wife's been gone.
What happened? She found out about the dogs?
No. Actually, she died.
Thank you so much for bringing your movie to us. I'm like, so many questions, but I'm so grateful you brought it to us. For those that haven't seen your film, tell us the brief synopsis.
All right, well, Emotional Labor is about a woman trying to claw her way out of life on the margins, and she finds her way into one of her clients' very upscale apartments, and she's trying to just do her job and keep her emotions out of her work, and he starts to lean on her for this emotional support, and we have to find out, is this going to kind of push her over the edge, or is it an opportunity for connection?
It's a really wonderful story. I mean, I'm so just well done in terms of what you did in front of camera and behind camera, because I just want to get into that dynamics. But it was a really great story. I never knew where it was going to go. I was like on the edge of my seat thinking, where is this going to go? And seeing these characters like unfold was really mesmerizing. So just well done. Where did the inspiration come for you in turning this idea into a film?
Thank you, first of all. For me, part of what inspires me to make films is really trying to find the humor in really difficult situations.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the way I'm into dark comedy, really grounded humor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really funny situations, but it's really just how maybe layering a difficult situation on top of another difficult situation, on top of another, until eventually I'm like, okay, now I'm laughing at all of this stuff. And so the idea of emotional labor, which is something that women and a lot of marginalized people are experiencing, they have to do more of it in their jobs.
Yeah.
Not funny.
Yeah.
But if the job is to help this privileged man, a very high status, to escape, his power and privilege just for a moment, then I'm like, okay, maybe this can start to be funny, and then I just kind of start to layer in other things that people, little manipulative tactics that, I've experienced, and kind of pile it on, and so I'm like, okay, hopefully there's some humor there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, you've got I thought you've got a fantastic sense of dark humor. Like, I want to see more movies from you, because I just was like, I love the journey you took us on. It's almost like very like educated, like dark humor. Like, I love how you made us work as an audience too, to sort of understand the dynamic. Thank you so much for what you did in front of camera, and how is the dynamic like working in front of camera? I mean, I think you just both work so well together. How was that experience for you?
Oh, it was amazing to work with Chris, first of all. I really, so much dependent, I mean, if you talk about an actor, and again, because I am an actor, and I really like to write for actors. I want to give them roles where they really have these layered performances, and they can showcase all the different places they can go, the dark places, funny places, all the full spectrum. But in terms of Chris, I will say, having submitted a lot of auditions and being on the other side, looking at all of these tapes, I know what it means when people say someone just does an audition and they just take the role.
Yeah.
That's how it was when I saw Chris's tape. He just brought so much, and I really needed that. To be honest, I always wanted to do the role. Sometimes you write roles like, this is a role I'd like to do. But because I wanted to get everything, made sure I thought I could handle it. You never know until you get there.
You never know,
But that was just seeing his performance and being like, okay, obviously we'll work together on set, but you brought so much. I felt, okay, I can just play off of this and work back and forth.
Well, you both brought so much to it. I mean, you know, what I kind of love is that, you know, again, whether it be the way you wrote it, you know, it was way it was wrote or way it was directed. Like, I love how you just kind of left us in moments of each other. Like, there was so much that you both described on your faces without saying a word, which I love. And I kind of love how you just left us in moments where we had to sort of work out what the feelings were as well. Was that always kind of an intention that you wanted to do? Because obviously a lot of action, but there's also a lot of just moments where you kind of see how each other are feeling as well.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things I will say. I think it's a interesting script for me to write because it was like the characters never say what they mean.
Yes.
And that's, again, it's just, and a lot of it's nonverbal.
Yeah.
And I really love that kind of acting. It's all in the eyes, and that's where the truth lies, and like the words and the actions, you know. And on a lot of levels, not just acting. I think my filmmaking is trying to get at that. It's way below the surface, you know. You get the plot, you get that, but you're really just trying to peel back those layers on the surface action to what's really happening, and I think that's something that, you know, will carry through to my future projects as well.
I mean, I hope so, because you made the characters so interesting. Like, you know, really, I kept thinking to myself, like, where did they just come from? Where are they going to next? How is this dynamic going to affect what they just, you know, what they just experienced? But, you know, I kind of love as well that you just put a highlight on just, you know, obviously, you know, what her job was. You know, I don't think we see enough of characters, you know, from that perspective, and just the humanization behind it as well. And then, like, you know, these other like well-to-do, you know, kind of, you know, white straight men that go and do this when their wife's just out the town. Like, it's so many dynamics to it. I love that you kind of showcase this world. Obviously, having made the project, like, you know, is there anything you kind of learned from this experience as a writer, as a director, performer? Like, what's something that maybe surprised you in kind of learning through this process?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. I think anytime this, you know, it's not the first film I ever made, but it's definitely the first at this, you know, production level, and the levels of professionals I had the, you know, honor to work with on this project. So definitely was learning all the way through. But yeah, I think also in terms of performing in front of, you know, performing and directing, I am like an over-prepared person, but you just can, you know, there's so much more to it than there's a lot to do. So I think it's great. You know, I'm very excited about the experience and happy with the outcome, but just learning all the way through of what, you know.
I love how the film was shot. I love the kind of there was like a nuance and essence of like even how the colors were used on camera. Did you kind of know going into it like how you want it to kind of look and feel? Is that something? Well, obviously you did know, but is there kind of a certain kind of feeling you wanted for your audience to experience?
Yeah, I mean, that's also as a process of discovery, working with our colorists and our cinematographers, but. I think what I did know was that we, you know, and this is something else I'm carrying, you know, into future projects. I love playing with reality in this film, and how we did that was a lot through things like lighting, and just the camera work, because you know, if you have this kind of naturalistic world you build where everything feels kind of like real and very, you know, straightforward, then in the film we also have this like. They're watching something on a screen. So that's shot with like studio lighting in a completely different location, different kinds of shots. We wanted to kind of be flat and look like, you know, even like low budget filmmaking in a way. So we really just try to like start with this, what I call like a default reality. Then you can layer in these other layers of reality. There's another, hope that's not a spoiler, but you know, there's a sequence where we get kind of into like the internal world and the psychology, and that starts to bleed the naturalistic so clever, and the artificial. So you know, that's something I actually want to do even more of, and just kind of play with those visual styles as a way of like creating the narrative.
It was so clever. Like, honestly, I love that dynamic that you brought in from those places. Now I know obviously, you know, being in it as well, but like, you know, obviously an actor. As a director, how do you like to direct and work with your actors? Like, is there a certain dynamic? Is it improvisation, rehearsal, play? Like, how do you go about? I know it's kind of a two-hander kind of thing, but how would you like to direct?
Yeah, it honestly depends on each situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Chris, we actually talked about it and decided not to rehearse a lot because it was this encounter of two strangers, and we thought it would actually contribute to the experience. Like we didn't want to over-rehearse because then it's like we're meeting. We knew that
For the first time, yeah.
We knew the roles, so work with it.
Yeah.
I'm very much like, I'm not like by no means method, but
yeah.
You know, you channel everything. Just like I feel like directing in my role actually was a lot, and that helped me channel the character on the day, as difficult as that was. But it's like she's handling all this stuff, and so if you can channel that, it contributes to the character.
Yeah, most definitely.
With the other actors, like with Andrea, who played Doug's wife, she was completely improvised.
It's great. It's a great
her
cameo.
audition was, I mean, and actually all the other actors had only improvised auditions.
Oh,
they had a just character description.
Wow.
And then they had to know them inside and out, so that on the day we could play. And then, you know, for example, again, I hope not to spoil, but I think I just have to share this. It's the one actor. I mean, it's who plays the man watching on the screen.
Oh yeah.
And he, you know, the description was like, they have to do multiple accents, like, you know, I mean, and just improvise, and it was amazing what they came up with. So I love improvisation. I think, on the other hand, you know, with something like the emotional labor script, it was very, you know, the dialogue was somewhat fixed. Although Chris had some brilliant improvisation as well.
Yeah. No,
I mean, the way he brought it to life.
I mean,
watching him move around in the kitchen.
Yeah, no, there's so much. I mean, again, I think that also signifies how lovely. I mean, again, I watched it on my laptop a couple of times first, then saw it on the big screen, was like, like that cinematic experience that you kind of gave us, it deserved to be on the big screen in front of an audience. And I'm just curious, like, we obviously very loved having your film at New Filmmakers LA, and welcome to the family. But how is it an experience for you seeing your film on the big screen? How has that experience been for you?
Well, thank you. I'm so excited to be a part of the New Filmmakers family. I had the experience, you know, watching the film with the audience, saying, this is what it's all about, this theatrical experience, coming out, being in the room with people, such a responsive audience, hearing the reactions. So yeah, I couldn't be more excited to get that. And I really, you know, I love episodic projects. I have some that I'm, you know, developing.
Excellent.
But there's something about the big screen and film, you know, I just still love that experience. And I will never, you know, I want the theaters to stay. I want festivals to stay. I love the Q&A. I love being, you know, meeting the other filmmakers, being a part of it and part of that energy. So I think last night, to me, and my feeling about it was just like, this is what the theater experience is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I was listening to the audience and just hearing people's reaction to your film in those moments, and probably moments that maybe even you discovered yourself, like when you hear that audience reaction, was just so magical. Brings me to say, what is next for you?
Well, there is a feature film in development. It's called Benders, and it's you know, similar, I would say, in the sense that I am working with like another script. It's like a skeleton in terms of giving the actors lots of room to play and breathe, and huge arcs for all the characters. Yeah. So that'll be really fun, and then playing a lot more with that reality, those different layers of reality. And then I have a couple of episodic projects actually I'm working on, and one is, you know, inspired by emotional labor, where you know, follows a woman who's just trying to claw her way out of life on the margins, and it's a bit of a dark comedy about the wealthy, privileged people in the city from her POV. So, and then another episodic as well.
I'm ready for it all. So just keep us up to date of what we're supposed to watch next, okay? Because honestly, congratulations. But just to finalize, for anyone out there, is just like, how do we do this? Like, is there any kind of creative advice that you have, or any advice just in general for anyone that kind of wants to just follow in your footsteps, or anything you go by creatively?
Well, I would say, this has been coming up a lot. There's moments like in the process where for a variety of reasons, it's like, whether it's the subtlety of some of the moments or just where until you find that audience and find that, the festivals like New Filmmakers, there's a lot of questions that come up in terms of what you're doing. And, I would just say, it is important to just honor your voice, what you're passionate about. And that may sound simple, but I know it's a journey, and, there's been some wonderful reminders of that. So I would just say, and even with things like acting in the film, so many people said, oh, you can't do that as a new film, as a newer filmmaker.
Yeah.
And, if it feels right and it feels important, you have to try it out, and, it works.
Yeah.
But, try to, follow your instincts and see what happens.
Yes, you can. You did it all, so don't you worry. Listen, thank you so much for Emotional Labor. I can't wait for your next project, but we're so glad you brought it to New Filmmakers LA. Thank you very, very much.